Good afternoon, guys. It's Workin bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And guys, things are really getting interesting. We've held since last time we spoke. Let's go ahead and confirm, or let's go ahead and discuss where we were last time. Last time we spoke, we had just broken back above this this pivotal area, what I consider to be a pivotal area. The middle of which is at about 75.50. Really, it's about between 7,600 7,500. And you know what was resistance here became support here, became resistance here, has now become support again. So again, this is a very, very relevant zone. Why do I continue to point this out? I'm pointing it out because I think, like as before, like we had here, I think a break below 75.50, guys, a decisive break below 75.50. And at this point, typically, guys, when you hear me say decisive, I mean a daily candle, both opening and closing. I'm talking on the time. I'm looking at the smaller time frame here, and I'm telling you, if we get a 4-hour candle, and I usually don't like to say this, guys, I don't like to talk smaller time frames when I'm on a video because typically things change so quickly on smaller time frames. By the time this gets published and by the time people are hearing it, everything might be invalidated. Who is messaging me there? Oh, that is the Crypto Poet. What up, Crypto Poet? All right, I'm gonna respond to him in a bit. So on the smaller time frames, for those of you who know who it is, you're laughing. For those that don't worry about it. So on the smaller time frame, guys, by the time you guys are reading or are hearing the video, it's what I had said may be invalidated, and the last thing I want to do is give you guys bad advice to where you're saying, Workin, you said this, and you're taking me out of context, not knowing I'm referring to a smaller, very quick time frame where things change so quickly. So I typically like to talk in higher time frames, guys, where when you get the information that I'm giving you, it's still relevant. That being said, I'm gonna break that rule. Looking at the smaller time frame here, if we get a 4-hour candle, both opening and closing below 75.50, I do think that that's going to be your signal. We'll get very likely get a drop down to. Let me go to the daily. We'll very likely get a drop right down to this zone right here, where we can see we had a nice base on the daily candle here, and that's at approximately 72.50. And we can also see that was not only a nice base for support, but that was also a nice resistance on the body of the candle back here on May the 11th and May the 12th, even though I'm not looking at the wicks here, just looking at the base on both of these. And so again, that sits at about 72.50, 72.50. So a break below 75.50, guys, I think it'll be a fairly quick drop to 62.50 if you want to do if you want to play a quick scalp, quick short. I do think that would be your signal to go in. And if you wanted to buy down here, certainly you could. I could see a possible bounce off that zone. That being said, it'd be pretty risky because if that does break, if we do end up breaking to the downside here, I think it could quickly fall back down to at least our zone down here at 67.50. That was our buy zone before. And on this second time around, guys, I'm not so sure that zone is going to hold. I would not, even though we could get a bounce off here, you certainly could try and scalp off that. I would just have a very tight stop loss if you do. I think this time if we break back down, let me go back to the 4-hour. I think this time if we break back down, guys, I think there's a good chance we're going to come into this zone here, which if we look back here, guys, we can see this was acting as a very strong resistance back in October, November of 18. I do think there's a good chance we're going to come back down to this zone, and that sits between 75 and 7,400, 7400, 7500. I think there's a good chance we wick down into that zone, if not lower than that. Now, we have not yet tested that zone, guys, so what was resistance often acts as support. I put up the lower time frame because on the way up, we could see that zone still, on the higher time frames, you can't see it really on the daily, but on the lower time frame, the 4-hour, you can see that zone was still relevant. It did still act as resistance back here before we just took off here. So I would expect that to act as possible support. We almost tested it with a wick down here, but I want to see a stronger test of that zone, guys, and I would expect at least a bounce off that zone. Now, even regardless of whether or not that zone breaks and we come lower, I would expect a little bounce off that zone. So I do think that playing a quick scalp, let's use the worst case scenario, let's say a scalping from 6,500. Let me talk here if I can get proper English out. If we scalp between about 6,500 and then hit the top of this zone, let's call it 6,700 to play it safe. I think that'd be a very easy scalp based on what I'm seeing right now, guys, if we do end up breaking down that low. But that being said, if we do take out 6,750, guys, certainly 6,000 is going to be on the table without question. And of course, we come out here to the daily chart, guys. As I've been talking about numerous times, guys, there's no question that this area down here is still very, very relevant. That was the last area where we created any real order structure. And again, oftentimes, anytime you see price go parabolic like this, it often comes down to the last major area of consolidation. I cannot yet call this a major area of consolidation just yet. So yeah, I can definitely see a scenario where we're coming down to the mid 5,000s, possibly lower 5,000s, but certainly the mid 5,000s, guys, if we do that. And it logically makes sense. If I look at this overall order structure here, pardon me. All right, guys, had to clear my throat there. So if I look at this overall, this larger order structure here, we of course bottomed here at 3150. Price came up, had that larger correction down here, and then of course we take off here. So if I look at the base of this correction, really we haven't had a major correction since we bottomed out here. Now we had, of course, our 20% correction down here, 21%, let's be precise, 21% correction down here that happened so quickly, but we haven't had a larger correction other than that quick flash crash. We haven't really had a larger correction where we had any kind of consolidation. So if I look at this base down here and I go swing low, swing high, we can see that the 618 is right there in the middle of that prior area of consolidation. It sits at about 72.50-ish. And we can see the golden pocket sits between 72.50 and 71, or excuse me, not 72, what am I saying, 72.4? 52.50, 52.50, and 5100 is that golden pocket, but the 618 is about 52.50-ish. So yeah, I can definitely see a scenario where price comes down and corrects down into that zone. Does that mean that has to happen? No, absolutely not. Could we see another kick up in the short term? Yes, we could. And I'm going to go into that. I'm going to go back to the 4-hour here, and let's see here. We can see that we're starting to create more of, this was kind of an ascending triangle. I mean, I saw a lot because, we saw price coming up here, but really every time, instead of an ascending triangle where we're looking at something like this, we've seen every time price broke up here, it's really created a albeit a very slightly lower low, still a lower low nonetheless. So if I look at this as more of a wedge, which it's kind of starting to look more like that. If I look at this as more of a wedge, guys, yeah, you can see this thing breaking up, you can see this thing breaking down. And I'm also seeing within this larger wedge, if I zoom in here to the hourly, what do we see? We can see within this larger wedge, we've kind of had this as well. We've had this ascending support line here, and we've also, if I kind of zoom in here, and really want to get technical, and these are for you, tiny little scalp traders that are looking for a quick breakout here. We also have a tiny little micro wedge within the larger wedge here, which if this thing did break up, the top of which would be at about 82.50, and we've been testing that, testing that over and over again. But we can see that we're getting, bottom line is, guys, and I'm not going to, again, I don't like to talk about the smaller time frame, so let's just look at this larger picture. Bottom line is we're getting a series of, albeit, slightly lower highs. They're very, very close, but still lower highs and certainly higher lows. And anytime you see that, guys, anytime you see lower highs, higher lows, and as price gets squeezed tighter and tighter, you expect a larger move to come, of course, as we approach the apex here. So we'll have to wait and see kind of how this ends up playing out. If we do break above this descending resistance line that we're kind of, actually, let's look at this prior high here. The prior high here, let's be fair. The prior high here was at 83.10. What is it, 83.10? If we break above 83.10, guys, things could start to get very interesting and things could start to get very bullish here in the short term. And I'm pointing this out because not only are we seeing a wedge, which again, this wedge, if it is an ascending triangle, certainly that's bullish here. But looking at this as a wedge, of course, that's kind of an equal opportunity. This thing could break down, this thing could break up, either way. But in favor of the bulls here, looking at the again, looking at the 4-hour chart here, what does it kind of look like we're starting to see? Let me grab the drawing tool real just very quickly. What does it kind of look like we're starting to see here? Maybe is that a head? What does that look like? I mean, possibly. We have not completed this yet, but what is this possibly looking like? Inverted head and shoulders, right? Now, it hasn't played out yet. Certainly, it hasn't played out, and nothing is to say that it will. And of course, it could look more like, that, and we still could be intact. But we certainly have Yeah, is it precise to the dollar? No, but what Head and Shoulders is, or what inverse Head and Shoulders, or Head and Shoulders, what is? This is certainly looking like a fairly good neckline here. This is certainly looking like a nice little left, a nice little makings of a possible right, and of course we do have a possible nice little head. So yeah, this definitely could turn bullish on us very quick. And if it does, what would be the target? If this thing does break out here, what would be the target? We'd be looking at somewhere around 9.6, 9.5, between, let's call it 9.5 and 9.7. We'd be looking somewhere around 9.5 and 9.7 as a possible target if, in fact, this is confirmed. And of course, that would put us right around this prior order structure here. Now, we wicked all the way up to about 9.9, maybe 950-ish. I think the high was about 9950 was the high. But we're looking at wicks here. If we look at really the body of this last break, of this last swing high, prior to the one that we're already up against now, but the one prior to that, the next area of major resistance, and that starts somewhere right around there, right around 9.6 all the way up to including 9.95. So yeah, that is a logical target in my opinion. Could this come to fruition? Absolutely. Am I saying it's going to? Absolutely not. I'm saying this is just a little more evidence in favor of the bulls at the moment. But that being said, guys, things could get bearish very, very quickly. So please don't take that as gospel. Looking at our indicators, if this thing does end up breaking up here, guys, again, we're back on the daily here. If this thing does break up, you can see where the MACD as well as the daily RSI here both could very quickly be showing some bearish divergence. So yeah, that's also something to keep in mind. If this thing does break up, it would suggest we possibly hit that target again around 9.5 to 9.7-ish, and then a larger breakdown, maybe even coming up to 9.9. Certainly that's on the table, but I'd certainly take profits. I'd start taking profits out the table right around 9.5. But so yeah, this thing does break up, guys. Yes, that'd be a very bullish sign. Yes, that would start to soften up areas of resistance up above. Yes, that would, in my opinion, put the nail in the coffin of the bears long term, even though short term I think we'd have a larger correction. And remember, guys, we still haven't had that 35 to 45% correction that we've had every single time we've had a parabolic move like this. So we are due for that. Whether that happens now or whether that happens up here at about 9.5 to 9.7-ish, I do think that it's going to happen. All right, coming over and looking at our moving averages, exponential moving averages, guys, we can see that, yeah, I mean, just looking beautiful, as I said, as we continue to say on the daily here, guys, the 8-day EMA above the 21, above the 55, all very, very bullish. Everything moving up, moving averages starting to separate from each other, creating a nice strong base here, guys. Nothing but bullish on this chart, guys. This is just, yeah, overall as far as the long-term trend, guys, this is bullish as hell. Looking at the weekly chart, guys, again, small little correction here, still stretching out the Bollinger Band. So definitely, guys, nothing but bullish here, well above the 8-day, or excuse me, the 8-week EMA. So again, nothing but bullish. We can see, zooming in here, guys, we can see that we've got the 21-week EMA getting very close to that 55. If we can get that 21-week EMA crossing above the 55-week EMA, that is going to be again just more confirmation of this longer-term bullish trend that we now have entered. That I believe that we're I don't think there's much of a doubt that we are in that now. Doesn't mean we can't have a larger correction. Doesn't mean the probability tells us that we will have a larger correction. But overall, guys, this is nothing but bullish. All right, let me zoom in here to the 4-hour. Now, the 4-hour is a little bit more interesting. Looking at our 4-hour period moving averages, guys, we can see that the 4-hour EMA and the 4-hour EMAs, or the 8-period EMA on the 4-hour, I should say, the 21-period EMA on the 4-hour, they're starting to consolidate with each other, starting to get tighter and tighter with each other here. We can see the 50-day move, or the 4-hour, sorry guys, the 4-hour simple moving average. Gosh, guys, man, I needed to get more sleep. Is again starting to converge with the 4-hour period EMA and 21-period EMA on the 4-hour chart. So all suggesting, as they start to converge there, all suggesting a larger move to come. Now the 21 EMA on the 4-hour chart, guys, that is acting as support here. It also was acting as support again on the daily as price came back down here. Get a nice reversal right there on the 21-day EMA on the daily chart here, guys. So again, looking back in on the 4-hour, we can see it's right on top of that, acting as support on the 21-period EMA on the 4-hour chart, guys. So a break below that could indicate a temporary drop down here, as I said, to possibly that base around 72.50-ish. Right there, guys, that could be your first indication of that to come, as well as, excuse me, guys, as well as if we do take out this prior high at about $8,310, guys. As I said, that could be your first signal, even though we don't break the ultimate high at about 84.50, as we said. That could be your first signal that that Bitcoin is going to that possible inverse head and shoulder is being validated, and we could be coming up much higher. So again, all things to keep an eye on, guys. But there's no question right now we're really sitting at kind of a fork in the road where we can see Bitcoin making a larger move in one direction or another. And I know that's frustrating to hear from an analyst. Price could go up, price could go down. That's brilliant work, and I know, I hear you. I know that's frustrating, guys. But I could just pick a side and lie to you, and then if I was wrong, say, well, some people get it wrong. I'm not going to do that to you. I'm just telling you what I'm looking at. And right now, I'm making a case in either direction, and I'm just telling you what the targets would be if we get a confirmed break to the up or a confirmed break to the downside. And if you find that frustrating, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not going to be dishonest with you. All right, checking longs and shorts. Shorts, for the most part, staying pretty flat. Longs are, I don't want to say they're stacking, but they are certainly higher than shorts, guys. So yeah, longs definitely outpacing shorts. That would suggest, historically, that would suggest price would break down here to liquidate these long positions. That being said, we're not seeing, typically, if shorts were stacked by the same ratio, then I would say, yeah, I would say that's, that is, in that case, we'd have a nice imbalance. But typically, especially in this market, you'd expect longs to be outpacing shorts just slightly. And I don't really consider this I don't consider this shorts just stacking, or excuse me, longs just stacking, or shorts are falling off the board. And that's really not what's happening. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of weight on this yet. That being said, keep an eye on it, because if you do see longs start to stack, if price ends up going up here and longs just start to stack and shorts start to fall off the board, get ready for a larger, much more significant correction. Conversely, if longs start to fall off the board and shorts start to stack, then look for price to continue to the upside. So yeah, just all things to kind of keep an eye on. Right now, I'm not going to put a lot of weight into this right now because we just don't have, it's just not there. The evidence just isn't there quite yet. All right, let's wrap Bitcoin there. Quickly run through some altcoins. Very quickly, looking at EOS. EOS also kind of, actually, yeah, EOS is kind of consolidating here as well, creating a series of lower highs, higher lows, and as this thing comes to, as this thing approaches a wedge here, I would expect a larger move to come here, and we can start to see that. If I kind of zoom in here, guys, we can see that price is without question getting squeezed here. We can see it's been rejecting here to the upside quite a bit, as well as rejected here by the bulls. The bulls saying not, bulls. This is really an epic battle between bulls and bears right now. Looking at EOS here. Now, typically we are not well above. We are above this 6.10. So I am bullish. This 610 has acted as support. This area between 590 and 610, since we've broken above, has acted as support, guys. So overall, I am bullish. If we do come back down here, anywhere between 610 and 590, I think is a good buy. With the EOS. That being said, really, actually, you know what? I'm going to take that back for a second, because if we do get a strong breakdown out of this apex here, if this is a valid wedge here, and it's a little bit sloppy, guys, so yeah, take this with a grain of salt. But if this thing does come back down, I'd be possibly buying. This could be a bull trap, or excuse me, a bear trap if it does break down. So I'm going to be watching to see if we break this prior base. In fact, you can probably see it a lot better if I come in here to the daily. If we break this prior base here, the bottom of which sits at about 590, guys, that's going to be your signal that that it's got a lot more room to fall, and we could easily fall down to at least 540, 545-ish, if not lower than that. To the upside, though, if this thing does break up, watch out for the bull trap as well. And I'd be watching for a break up above. Doesn't mean I wouldn't buy. It just means I'd be very, very careful. I'd be watching for to confirm a breakup. It needs to break above 647. We take out 647 here, guys. I do think there's a good chance we have a lot more upside. And of course, as I said before, guys, there's really not, once we get past this noise right here, there's just not a lot of resistance between there and $7 to 730. That's really the first area that we find any kind of real resistance. There's a very small little supply zone up here between $7 and 730. It's not really a hard resistance at all. It's just the first area of resistance that I can see above there. So if we do end up breaking up, guys, yeah, I can definitely see us zooming all the way up here to $7, between $7 and 730. If that gets taken out, guys, you know, easily we could come up here to about 8 to 815. So there's a lot of upside. There's a lot of upside potential for EOS, and of course, keep in the back of your mind, we do have that block 1 announcement coming up on June 1, which again, I don't like to mix fundamentals with TA, but take that for what it is. All right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap EOS there. Quickly looking at BAT. BAT has established a nice little base here between 34 and 35 cents, guys. We do have a decent little supply zone down here. In other words, buyers seem very willing to buy between 34 and 35, which certainly makes sense. We can see that that was an area of support back here when price did end up breaking down, or when price broke down initially before it just ended up crashing down. And of course, back here it was an area of resistance. So yeah, this certainly makes sense, guys. We'll have to wait and see. I think if you're day trading, yeah, I think anything down here between 34 and 35 is a good buy, and getting out between 36 and 37, yeah, seems to make sense. That seems to be that's kind of the range that we're trading right now. I do think if price ends up overall looking fairly good. Now we're flirting with breaking below the 21-day EMA, and it's never a good sign when that does happen. We broke below it here, but we have yet to have a decisive break below it. The bulls were able to push it right back up here. Remember, just because we break the 21-day EMA does not mean it is technically broken. We need a daily candle both opening and closing to have a decisive break, in my opinion, guys. So until that happens, I remain bullish on BAT. To the upside, we do have a fairly monstrous supply zone, though, here between about 43 and 41 cents. Really, almost 40, actually 44 and 41 cents, guys. So there's a decent supply zone here. So if you do buy down here, if you want to be a little more ambitious, you could target this zone, but I do believe we're going to find some major resistance into this zone. If we can break up above 41 cents and start consolidating above 41 cents, at that point, I'll start to believe that the bulls are building momentum, and we could take a shot at coming out and taking out the all-time high here, or at the very least breaking above this supply zone here, the top of which again is at 44, and turning that into support. If that does happen again, I'll get very, very bullish on BAT. And until that does happen, I'll just kind of continue to trade the range. But overall, BAT is an excellent coin in my opinion, as you guys know. Quickly coming over to BNB, Binance coin, one of my favorite coins, guys. As I told you last time, guys, I gave you my targets on this, and we are just now hitting our target here. I gave you this ascending resistance line here. Pardon me, that we are just now coming up against. Remember the last time, in my last video, I gave you my target of 29 and 31 cents. I'm now out of my trading position on BNB. Now I do have BNB as one of my larger long-term hold positions, and again, I will just do that. I'm holding for the long term, but I've now closed my trade on BNB, guys. This finally has hit my target. How did I get my target, guys? Well, you guys know, if you watched my last video, we had this ascending resistance line here. That was the basis of it, and then of course we just grabbed our fib extension, pardon me, and we went from the base to the prior high to the prior low here. And of course that lined up perfectly with our ascending resistance line and the 618 fib. That was the next major fib level after we broke up above the 50 here. So yeah, I'm now out of my trading position. I'm going to look to re-enter on BAT if and when we do retrace down to about 29 cents. At that point, I'll probably start to scoop a little bit more up, and I'll continue to scoop some up all the way down to 27 cents. I think anything between 29 and 27 cents is a good buy on BAT. If we do end up dropping below that, guys, we do have 25 down here. I will not sell my position. I will end up buying more and adding to my position at 25. I do think this has established a decent base. Does that mean that has to hold? No, it doesn't. I think the next base below that is 23.42, and that is a real possibility without question. And we also can't ignore that we have what looks to be an ascending broadening wedge here, guys, and that typically is a bearish pattern. Now again, doesn't mean this thing has to break down, but this typically is a bearish pattern. Typically this does end up topping out and then having a larger breakdown, the target of which but the most bearish target would be the start of this ascending broadening wedge, which I'm not even going to go there, guys. I don't think there's any way in hell we're ever coming back down to the $7 range with BAT ever. So I would say the next target would be this zone right here at about 1830-ish. The most bearish target would be about 1830 right down here. Possibly 1726, this zone down here, but I just don't see it coming that low. But honestly, guys, yes, I realize we have this ascending broadening wedge here just staring us in the face, but I have trouble believing that BAT is going to break down below 23.42, and I really have trouble believing it's going to break down below 25.25. As I said, I will start to with my trading portfolio, I will start to average back into BAT starting at about 28.70, and I will continue to add all the way down. I'm that bullish on BAT. I think it could have a strong reversal at any point, and this thing could just go parabolic. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you to get out. You do what you want to do. This is not financial advice. Sorry about that, guys. This is not financial advice. You guys do what you want to do. I'm just telling you what my targets were, and my target had me getting out here. I don't want to get too greedy with BAT, but this has just been a beautiful bullish coin, guys. The next target above this zone here, of course, you can just follow this ascending support line all the way up if you want to be a little bit lazy. But the next target above that, until we have something to base a retracement, a larger retracement off of, the next major target off of this would be, sorry, I didn't mean to take this away. Next major target off that would be the 786, and that's going to put it right around 35.15, 35.16 would be the next major target. So if you're feeling extremely bullish, guys, by all means, go ahead and go for it. But I think it's a little bit risky at this point. I think it's due for a very small correction here in the short term. But overall, overall, not BAT, guys. Binance Coin is certainly, in my opinion, I'm one of the coins I'm the most bullish on in 2019. All right, let me go ahead and close there, guys, and I'm going to start having to rush through these guys because I needed to get out the door here. All right, quickly looking at Litecoin. Litecoin's still following our ascending support line. If we zoom in here, guys, we're certainly getting a series of lower highs, higher lows, also coming to an apex, also looking like it's getting ready to move. A break to the upside. Watch out for the bull trap all the way up to and including approximately 95.70, 95.75. Until we take out 95.75, that's not going to be a confirmed break to the upside, so watch out for the break up, followed by a very quick break right back down to the other direction. And as I said on my last update, guys, this thing could fall quickly. Now the ascending support line, we're a little bit above where we were in the past year. I think if this thing does end up falling down, I think that looking probably around $80 to about $77, $78, guys, would be a decent area to look for a bounce. To the downside, watch out for the bear trap as well until we do take out the bottom of this prior order structure, which sits at about $85, guys. Until we take that out, that wouldn't be a confirmed breakdown to the downside, guys, and I can see a breakdown hitting about $85 and then immediately reversing, coming right back up. So watch out for the bull and or bear trap. That being said, we certainly are in a wedge here, which means it could break in either direction here, guys. No, always keeping in mind that we do have a major area of resistance right up above, as I just discussed on my last update, right at about $110. If we break above 110 decisively, in other words, a daily candle opening and closing above 110, I'm very, very bullish on Litecoin at that point, guys. And there's just not a lot of resistance. We could go from 110 very easily to 125. 125 breaks out, we could easily find ourselves up to 130, 140 very, very quickly. To the downside, guys, if we do end up breaking below this ascending support line right here, I think the next major area of support is going to be right around $65-ish. 65 breaks, we could find ourselves down around $55 to $60. I don't think that's a probability until Bitcoin has that larger 35-45% correction. Until Bitcoin has the larger correction, guys, I would expect Litecoin to respect this ascending support line. So anything at this ascending support line is a buy, and I'd just be very, very careful. I wouldn't get too greedy because, as I said, we are getting to the point to where we are due for a larger correction. So as soon as this thing breaks, guys, expect this thing to break down a little bit further. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close Litecoin there. Looking at Ethereum, this is on the weekly chart. Weekly chart looks, even though we've had a little bit of a correction here, overall very, very bullish. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out. We've got major support down here between 230 and 220. And we've got major resistance between 280 and 300. We're currently sitting right in between the two, guys, so not really your best time. If looking at the weekly, we're not seeing much opportunity. Looking at the daily, however, and actually let me zoom in here to the 4 hour. Again, Again, the market just looks like it's about to move, guys. Because looking at the 4 hour, and I did not look at this prior. Looking at the 4 hour again, it looks like we're coming in on a wedge. That wedge again, watch out for the bull and or bear trap. The top of the wedge is right at that supply zone between between 280 and 300. The bottom of this wedge is also at a very tiny little demand zone between 230 and 220. So again, a decisive break above these guys. This thing could go parabolic all the way up to and including about 380 to 400. A decisive break below 220, we could find ourselves down at 185 very, very quickly. Right now, a little bit of a risky buy because we are again in that wedge. Could break up, could break down. So again, guys, I would be very, very careful playing this right now. I'd be very careful playing Ethereum right now. I'd wait for that confirmation up above into this zone. If we start consolidating, if we take out this prior high, I do think that at about 280, I do think that'd be confirmation to go long. If we take out this prior low at about it's really at 222. Let's call the bottom though at 220. It's good psychological. We take that out, guys. That's good. That definitely would be a sell signal. I can see us coming down very easily to 185 if that does end up getting broken. But right now, guys, we're sitting at the apex of a wedge. Not really the time to buy, guys, because really we can see this thing breaking in either direction. All right, and finally ending with Ripple. Ripple. This is on the 4 hour and. Dude, I did not look at these coins before, guys. Again, what do we have here? This is a little sloppier, but without question, lower highs, lower highs, higher lows, without question. Again, guys, Ripple looking like we've got a ton of wick to the down, ton of wick to the up, guys. We can see there's an epic battle between bulls and bears on literally almost every coin I've been looking at today, guys. So yeah, the market does look like probably in the next. Let's go out here to the daily. I would say in the next 2 to 3 days, this market does look like it's going to have a larger move, guys. It just does. And so, yeah, this Ripple is technically above this area, the bottom of which is at about 39 cents. So, and it's starting to act as support. So, technically, that's bullish. That being said, guys, again, we're coming to an apex of a wedge here. So, you're really gambling until we get a decisive break above. A decisive break above, I'd say above about 41.5. A decisive break above 41.5 cents, guys, I do think would, could carry us up to at least this prior high, not the prior high, but the prior, at least the prior body of these candles at about 45 cents. I'd sell at 45. I'd be too afraid this thing would get rejected hard again. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Again, now we do have a very strong area of resistance, as I told you in the past, between 47 and 50 cents, guys. So if we can start consolidating above 47 cents, be a very bullish side. To the downside, if we do end up breaking below 36.7 cents, guys, if we do break this prior base here, I think it could get very ugly for Ripple in the short term, and we could find ourselves down to about 32 cents very, very quickly. So yeah, things are starting to come to a head in my opinion, guys, and I'd kind of hang on to your hats unless you're playing very small scalp positions, guys. I'd kind of hang on to your hats. I'm not seeing a really good opportunity to buy with Ripple at the moment, and really all coins at the moment are kind of reaching an apex to where I think we're going to get a decision here in the next few days as to whether or not this thing is going to turn bullish or we're going to get that larger correction that everyone's kind of been waiting for since this thing has just gone completely parabolic. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Workin.